variables and data types. In programming, a variable is a value that can change depending on conditions or on information passed to the program. Generally, a computer program consists of instructions that tell the computer what to do and data that the program uses when it is running. The data consists of constants or fixed values that never change and variable values which are usually initialized to 0 or some default value because the actual values will be supplied by a program's user. Usually, both constants and variables are defined as certain data types. We will talk about data types later. Now let us learn more about variables. Remember, I mentioned we have fixed values and variable values, which are values that can change. So these values that can change are what we call variables. Variables are used to store data that is likely to be reused and or manipulated in a program. Variables provide a way of labeling data so our programs can be understood more clearly by the reader and ourselves. Take a moment and think about a program that requires users to input their first name or age. So, a programmer will use variables such as first name or age as variables because this is not fixed data. You can think of a variable as a data container which you call when you need the data that is in it. It is important to use descriptive words when naming a variable as it can get difficult to manage non-variable names in large programs. That is why I gave an example of names such as first name or age as a variable. This way, anybody that is looking at your program will be able to understand and know this is actually a variable name. In most programming languages, the equal sign or assignment operator is used to assign a value to a variable with the variable name on the left side of the operator and the value on the right. For example, in Python, we have name is equals All School Africa. Name here is the variable name and All School Africa is the value. Some languages have special keywords that come before declaring a variable. For example, in JavaScript, you can write a variable this way: const name is equals to All School Africa. So the variable here is name and the value is All School Africa. But notice there's a keyword that is used before the variable, that is const. You will learn more about this as you get deeper into JavaScript. Whenever we need to access the name, that is the variable name in our application, we can easily use the variable name and manipulate it based on the data type of the value assigned to our variable. Now let us talk about data types. In computer programming, data type is a classification of data which tells the compiler or interpreter how the programmer intends to use the data. Data type also defines a set of values and a set of operations that can be applied on those values. In simple terms, a data type specifies which type of value a variable has. Imagine we have two values, 4 and Ade Tiger. We can easily find the square of 4, but the same operation cannot be carried out on Ade Tiger. Some operations that can be applied to values of one data type obviously do not make sense when applied to values of another data type. When we try the wrong operations on data types, an error is thrown. Most programming languages support the following data types. We have integers, which is a data type representing whole numbers including negative ones. Here you can think about 1, 2, 3, -1, -2, and so on. The next data type is floating point numbers, which is a data type representing numbers with decimal parts. Here, you can think about all the numbers with decimal parts in them. The other data type is Boolean operator, which is basically a data type representing logical false or true. So every time you hear about Boolean, the only thing that should come to your mind is false or true, or rather true or false. The last data type I'm going to talk about is text or string, which is basically a data type representing words containing characters which may be made up of letters, digits, symbols, signs, etc. For example, Ade Tiger is the data type text. You get it? Yeah. Type checking in programming languages. Type checking involves ensuring that the operations carried out on values of each particular data type in a computer program are valid. A type error is thrown if an invalid operation is carried out. For example, the code x is equals to 4 times add a tiger will throw an error because the multiplication operator can only be used with numbers. Yeah, and as you can see, add tiger is not a number, add tiger is the data type text. So basically, when you try to run this particular line of code, an error will be thrown, and the error type is type error. There are two methods of type checking, which are static and dynamic. Static type checking is done at compile time. This is when a compiler translates a source code. Type checking is done and an error is immediately thrown and the code does not run. This is useful because type errors are caught earlier in the development cycle. This is majorly seen in languages such as C++, Java, C, Go, TypeScript, and so on. The other type of type checking in programming languages is dynamic type checking, which is done during runtime. The program runs but throws an error when the mismatched type code block is executed. This is majorly seen in JavaScript, Python, and Ruby. This can make it quite difficult to catch type errors in development, especially if the program is not properly tested.